Today we have a very special guest to speak to us. I'd like to introduce Gold Star survivor Jill Hortman Morris, who is here to honor her younger brother, Army Captain John David Hortman, a West Point graduate from the class of 2004, who had 4 combat tours in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation New Dawn. David was an attack helicopter pilot in the elite 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment known as the Night Stalkers, who on August 8, 2011 paid the ultimate sacrifice to our country. Before Jill speaks to us, let's watch this short video.
Service in the 160th is a calling only a few will answer, for the mission is constantly demanding and hard. And when the impossible has been accomplished, the only reward is another mission that no one else will try. As a member of the Night Stalkers, I am a tested volunteer, seeking only to safeguard the honor and prestige of my country by serving the elite Special Operations soldiers of the United States. I pledge to maintain my body, mind, and equipment in a constant state of readiness, for I am a member of the fastest deployable task force in the world, ready to move at a moment's notice, anytime, anywhere, arriving time on target, plus or minus 30 seconds. I guard my unit's mission with secrecy, for my only true ally is the night and the element of surprise. My manner is that of the Special Operations quiet professional. Secrecy is a way of life. In battle, I eagerly meet the enemy, for I volunteered to be up front where the fighting is hard. I fear no foe's ability, nor do I underestimate his will to fight. The mission of my precious cargo are my concern. I will never surrender. I will never leave a fallen comrade to fall into the hands of the enemy, and under no circumstances will I ever embarrass my country. Gallantly will I show the world and the elite forces that I support that a Night Stalker is a specially selected and well-trained soldier. I serve with the memory and pride of those who have gone before me, for they loved to fight, fought to win, and would rather die than quit. Night Stalkers don't quit.
Good morning, TCA. It is a privilege to stand before you all on this day. I join you this morning with my family, my husband Mark, our 2 little daughters, my stepdad Ken, and the strongest woman I know, my mother Brenda. I first would like to welcome all veterans in the audience as well as families of veterans. Today is first and foremost to honor you. Veterans Day, formerly known as Armistice Day, was established almost a century ago in the year 1918 after the First World War ended on the 11th day of the 11th month of the 11th hour. Originally created to honor veterans of World War I, in 1954, after yet another world war, as well as the Korean War, President Eisenhower revised the legislation, and November 11th became a day to honor veterans of all wars. Many heroic men and women continue to make the noble decision to serve in our United States military, and on this day we stop, and with grateful hearts, say thank you. To all veterans here today, we celebrate you. To families with deployed loved ones, we wait with you. And to any Gold Star families here today, we grieve with you. It's been said the greatest strength of our military, of our nation is our military. The strength of our military is our soldiers, and the strength of our soldiers is our families. You see, we are a very proud family of an amazing veteran who we are celebrating today, Captain John David Hortman. On behalf of the families that stand and boldly support our American soldiers, I'm honored to share our personal story with you today. We grew up in a yellow house beneath South Carolina skies, surrounded by yellow rose bushes and honeysuckle, giant oak trees, and a dainty dogwood tree that would bloom white blossoms every spring. In a neighborhood full of families and children, my brother David and I were born 15 months apart. Both with our father's blonde hair and light eyes and our mother's peaceful spirit, everyone considered us twins from the beginning. We were destined to be best friends. Though similar in appearance, our personalities were quite contrasting. David was a little charmer, bursting with charisma and confidence, and I was a little shy and reserved, happy to be in the background. Our early years were spent doing quintessential Southern things, chasing fireflies, searching for gold in the nearby creek, adventuring through the woods in 100% humidity, and spending endless time at the ocean. Sounds a little nostalgic, I suppose, but looking back, I realize our childhood was just that. Our youth shaped us into exceedingly sentimental, yet strong and established people. Don't let me mislead you, however. David and I surely made mistakes. My parents' philosophy was to punish us together, to encourage us to take care of and watch out for each other. Not fair, I know. But we learned from a very young age we were each other's greatest allies. When we ventured onto adverse paths, we suffered the consequences together. When we conquered a difficult milestone, we claimed victory together. When we suffered heartbreak, we found refuge in one another. And in all other scenarios, we laughed together. With just the slightest gesture or glimpse of secret silly faces we would only share with each other, we could fill the room with laughter. David would take every opportunity to make me laugh in any inappropriately solemn setting. He mastered movie quotes through the years and would recite witty lines, word for word, facial expressions and all. Throughout his school years, David grew to charm, captivate, and succeed. He excelled in academics, sports, but most profoundly in his relationships with others. He made others feel noticed, appreciated, and valuable. He developed bonds with friends and teachers that he continued to cultivate for many years. The characteristic that began to dominate all facets of David's life was his humility. He was a natural leader. Others were driven to follow him, but he never commanded the spotlight. He considered his influence a gift to serve others, always heeding our parents' advice from the book of Luke, to whom much is given, much is expected. During his high school years, he was elected student body president, and his interest in history and pride in our country began to expand. Paired with his ability to form deep relationships with others, he was drawn toward politics, specifically in our home state of South Carolina. He was nominated for Boys State and was then chosen as two young men from South Carolina to attend Boys Nation in Washington, D.C. David was inspired and moved in the arena of government and service, and it was then that his interest in serving our military developed. In the year 2000, David was accepted into the long gray line at the United States Military Academy at West Point, following in the footsteps of many great men in our country's history, including Robert E. Lee, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Douglas MacArthur, Stonewall Jackson, and George S. Patton. David was honored to join in. He thrived during the challenging years at West Point and built friendships that were unparalleled with exceptional guys we consider family to this day. Upon graduating from West Point as a second lieutenant, David began a focused path toward aviation. After he completed initial entry rotary wing training, David was assigned to Fort Drum, New York, where he served in multiple positions, including scout platoon leader and company commander, flying the OH-58 helicopter, the Kiowa. David went on to complete Ranger School, the aviation captain's career course at Fort Rucker, Alabama, and the dreaded Survival Evasion Resistance and Escape course known as SEER. At Ranger School, he was voted number 1 by his peers and number 1 by his instructors, first time a pilot had ever earned that title. In 2008, David was preparing for a lengthy tour in Iraq. It was the first of this nature. We met at our mother's house to engage in close family time, to relax and to be strengthened together. One afternoon, David asked Mama and I to sit with him, and he gently handed us sealed letters. In the event something were to happen to him, we were to open these letters. David was a prolific writer. Throughout the years, within our family, writing letters was a common form of communication, and that trend continued during his deployments. We have numerous letters from war from David. And I would like to share one very special one written Thanksgiving 2008 from Iraq. Your wonderful senior class president, Dylan Brown, will be reading this letter to you today.
Greetings, family, from across the world. I wish that I could be there to share in the good times, stories, fellowship, and laughs. Know this, however, that we are here in this ancient, very storied place, serving the collective will of the people of our great nation, for good, upholding and promoting democracy and freedom to those who, although may never accept it, will never be able to deny that it was offered. Know that I am here in this fight on behalf of my God, my country, and my family, absolutely on my own free accord, feeling no emotion other than intense joy and gratitude for having been afforded such a task and such a calling. Those who do not regard this battle of ideologies, this struggle against extremism and fanaticism, whether it be in Iraq, Afghanistan, the United States, or elsewhere, as a relevant, necessary fight with long-term ramifications, are grossly misguided. This struggle is epic in nature, and it is not about territory, oil, greed, imperialism, or militarism as perhaps a growing majority of America may have chosen to believe. Without using my Thanksgiving greeting as a sounding board for personal opinions and feelings on the matters of war and politics, I would like to emphasize the importance of hope, faith, support, and old-fashioned ethical responsibility from the home front. Your United States Armed Forces stand ready to do violence on your behalf because we swore an oath to preserve and defend the United States Constitution and the American way of life. These are tasks that require commitment, courage, resolve, and selflessness in the face of often challenging, very dangerous, and otherwise uncomfortable situations. With that said, support from those whom we protect and serve, the American constituency, is indeed important, perhaps the most essential block in the foundation of an effective and lethal fighting American service member. Thank you for your letters, cards, packages, prayers, thoughts, emails, and gifts. More importantly, thank you for who you are, for continuing to build an American society based on faith, creativity, regard for others, and hope. I am amazed at young Americans here every day. Know that your sons and daughters are among the most professional, most determined, most loyal, and most efficiently trained group of individuals that the world has ever seen. Praise is most assuredly due to Him who created us and to whom we belong. Our country needs our prayers, our talents, our voices, and our resolve to improve this society. These will manifest in a variety of forms depending on the individual. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. Ecclesiastes 9:10. During Thanksgiving and the holiday season, I would challenge each of us to develop ourselves and our families to be both servant and leaders, ones who may lead and follow. Love to all, David.
Thanks a lot, Dylan. I remember upon David's return from the dry Middle Eastern desert, he sent me a text late that night that simply said, "It's raining." His sensitivity and gratefulness for the simple things in life were profound. In 2010, David successfully assessed for the 160th Special Operations Aviation Unit Regiment. After completing the demanding initial training called Green Platoon Course, David was chosen to serve at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, as a platoon leader in Task 1/160th, the regiment's 1st Battalion, known as the National Mission Force, the most elite aviation unit on the planet. Using highly modified Black Hawks, Chinooks, Little Bird Assault, and Little Bird Attack helicopters, the Night Stalkers are the fastest deployable task force in the world, ready to move at a moment's notice anytime, anywhere, arriving on target plus or minus 30 seconds. Established in 1981, the 160th Night Stalker's unique mission is to support and defend special operations soldiers on top-secret missions to surgically execute our nation's most high-value objectives, mostly in the cover of night. Their customers, as they call them, consist of the most distinguished military units in the world. David would serve in B Company as an AH-6M Little Bird attack helicopter pilot flying the Little Bird gunship, used only in special operations. With forward-mounted twin miniguns firing 140 bullets a second, and 14 rockets, Little Bird attack helicopters are often used to protect the other aircraft and carry their customers to a target, but their primary mission is precision close air support using these weapons to eliminate any threat to their customers on the ground. aimed only by grease pencil crosshairs, carefully drawn on the cockpit by the pilots and coming in as low as 10 feet above the ground at 100 miles an hour with the ability to put a rocket through a window. Their motto is 6 guns don't miss, and they rarely do. They fight without doors in all weather, fully exposed to enemy fire. Without doors, they are lighter, can carry more ammunition into battle, but more importantly, provide the pilots with more visibility to identify threats that can harm ground troops. David called it his little race car. Their precision is from constant training at home and while deployed, making the Night Stalkers the best of the best at what they do. David had said they train harder than they fight, to be ready for any situation in combat that is needed. After graduating Green Platoon and becoming Basic Mission Qualified, or BMQ, the flight lead instructor pilot challenges you to a contest. The contest is simple. You load your little bird with 2 loads of ammunition, he loads his with 1, and you go out to a special gunnery range. You are to try to beat him in how many targets you can hit at high-speed gun runs. David's instructor was a little bird attack pilot for over 18 years, with over 30 combat rotations, and David's the first and only to ever beat him. Humble as he was, David never told us about this. We found out later. The year 2011 began beautifully. David was deep in training. We were all reunited for a wonderful Easter celebration at our mother's in South Carolina in the spring. A few months later, we celebrated David's 30th birthday at the beach. And shortly after that, we celebrated our mother's birthday at David's first new house of his own. Celebrating was indeed the theme for these visits. During these treasured moments, we talked, we laughed, we dreamed, we left nothing unspoken, and I'm so grateful we did. The morning of August 7th, 2011, David sent my husband Mark a text that said, "Please pray. We lost some of our customers last night." A Chinook with 38 soldiers, 30 of them special operations soldiers, was shot down in Afghanistan, including 17 members of SEAL Team 6. The next day, Monday morning, August 8th, 2011, David called me from training at Fort Benning, Georgia. We spoke very often, even in the midst of his busy schedule. Our conversation was casual and brief. It ended with, "I love you." 5 hours later, during a live fire event with 75th Ranger Regiment, my brother's helicopter suffered a catastrophic engine failure and crashed. CW3 Steve Red was lost with my brother that day. It is impossible to put into words the excruciating events in the days to follow. We broke the seals on David's precious letters written 3 years earlier. Being the selfless, compassionate man he was, he gently instructed us on how to go on. He reassured us of his confidence in the path he had chosen. He reminded us of his faith, and he assured us of his love. He detailed his preferences on his service in every decision that was to follow. He knew our grief would be immense, so he did all he could in advance to help ease our suffering by leaving his fingerprints and his guidance behind. For months, I was paralyzed. My heart was broken over the loss of the dreams we shared, the loss of his physical presence in my life, and his deep impact on others, but mostly, I grieved for what he lost in this world. I was forced to fully confront where I placed my trust. Where did my hope reside? Through our lives, David and I both developed a fervent faith in God. But where did that stand now that such tragedy had occurred? David wrote in his letter, "Know this, I died doing exactly what I know God wanted me to do. I feel nothing but peace and gratitude for the blessings that I knew while I lived. I know that I am with God." My incredible brother gave me the gift of peace and security, and the truth that indeed there is a time for everything in this life. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to be born and a time to die. I stand here today with an indestructible faith and cling tightly to the promise that greater is He that is in me than he that is in the world. I know without a doubt our God is active and He is good, even in the midst of sorrow and disaster. CW3 Steve Redd had 3 children. He was a highly decorated combat veteran with 12 deployments, 2 daughters, Jaslyn and Desiree, and 12-year-old son, Tristan. Shortly after August 8th, we met Tristan, and he has become a very close friend of our family. Tristan has had to show strength beyond what any young man should have to at such a young age, but we find comfort and support in journeying together. Through such tragedy, I've learned many things. The burden of suffering so deep does not lessen over time, but our ability to carry it grows stronger. Resilience is built day by day. Grieving is a painful and complicated process. It's essential to be patient with yourself, for it's an individual journey. At some point in the journey, confronting the pain will become easier than running away from it. Evasion will eventually be replaced by engaging with reality, which slowly allows a healthy acceptance to develop. And joy is not dependent on my circumstances. It's a decision I embrace each day. General George S. Patton said, "It is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived." David now rests at Arlington National Cemetery amidst great company. In section 60, one row over from 13 of the 17 of their customers from SEAL Team 6, he had asked us to pray for that day. For the sake of thousands of military families who walk this agonizing path, particularly here in Colorado Springs, I want you all to know the intimate meaning when you see a small flag, as already been described to you, first flown by families during World War I. The flag with the blue star represents a family member that is currently serving, and if that family member is killed, it's changed to a gold star. You also see many loved ones wearing black or silver cuff bracelets called hero bracelets. Know that we wear them to remember. Know that we wear them because we are proud. If you see a flag or a bracelet, don't hesitate to ask us about our hero. We want you to know about them. It's been an honor to share our story with you today. It certainly would have been impossible for me to do this 4 years ago. I stand boldly before you all ultimately because I'm proud of my brother and his decision to serve our United States military. He changed lives in his 30 years, and others carry his influence. His story, along with the many men and women who serve and sacrifice, deserves to be told. Without our brave soldiers, all of our lives would look very different. We live in a country where freedom greets us every morning and tucks us in safe and sound every evening. Let us not forget that that freedom was bought at a very high price. We are all created to serve others. I encourage each of you, do something with your life that's memorable. Offer hope and joy to those around you each day. Your impact, whether great or small, is your personal, distinct contribution to our world, something only you can give. One day, your influence could possibly be what gives another person the courage to live fully, as my brother has done for me. And once again, to our veterans, for walking into the battle for all of us, for humbly assuming the posture of servanthood, for answering the call to preserve and protect the great United States of America, we thank you. When we raise our flags each day, it is you that we think of. Our story began in the beautiful South, but it is not over. It will continue, I have no doubt. In the presence of angels among streets of gold, a great reunion with my brother awaits. Until then, as David wrote in his farewell letter, the most important thing I want you to do, what means the most to me as I sit and compose this farewell letter, is celebrate. Pray, cry, laugh. Remember, and then move on with your life and do great things. Would you all join me now in watching a short video of some good times with David?
moonwalk, and I'll just do like random Michael Jackson moves. Alright, so.
You're doing Michael Jackson. Go!
This is gonna be the worst. Michael Jackson, like, he never did anything, you know, like,
Extravagant, yeah.
yeah, he was just like,
Yeah.
perfect, you know? 1, 2, 3, Davis Coach! You gotta wait till it hits the chorus.
Could be
Bad medicine! Woo! So, it's gonna look something like this. I'm a professional.
Don't try this at home.
Not try this at home. Alright, here we go.
What you got there, Dave?
Cup of water, what do you have?
Nice Band-Aid.
What Band-Aid?
But yeah, no way.
See Band-Aid.
It's a special Lake Powell Band-Aid.
What kind of Band-Aid does he have, Sydney?
It's, you know what? It's a
Barbie
Band-Aid.
It's a functional one.
That's right. That's the only thing that we had.
You better be careful because he may show it to you.
You're lucky you didn't
That's
get the
right.
one with Barbie on it.
Okay.
What kind did he get?
He got this one, the flower one.
Oh.
You could have got the one with Barbie on it.
It matches your pink cup with the flowers.
You guys are saying this like I chose that for myself, which is untrue.
It is untrue. I'm here to say
You accepted it. You
I'll hit
drank
her.
David is sure
Now,
about
you're the one who drew flowers. Listen,
You drank alcohol.
why do you guys want me to want that? I mean, you want me to want flowers. You want me to want Barbie Band-Aids, and that's strange.
No, it isn't.
That's strange.
Date.
I don't have a problem wearing pink. I just have a problem with people that have a problem.
That's right.
Thank you.
Jill, thank you for sharing with us this morning about your journey with your brother David and of his great service to our nation. I'd like to take a moment real quick and just recognize the support group that Jill has with her today. They have a couple rows filled up with family and friends here who came to join her. If they could stand, we'd like to give you a round of applause. Thank you. As we come to a close this morning,